Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be learning about masala bonds. Okay, so before we go on to masala bonds, let's understand what are bonds. So there is an issuer of a bond and there is an investor. So the issuer basically issues a bond and the investor gives in the investment. That is, he buys the bond. Once the investor has bought the bond, the issuer will then give to the investor coupons and the maturity amount. So in simple terms, you can understand this as the issuer is issuing bonds, that is, he is taking a sort of a loan. He takes a loan from the investor. Now once the loan is taken, the investor will obviously get a return on the loan, which is, as you understand, interest payments. That is the coupon of the bond, and obviously eventually the issuer has to repay the bond to the investor, that is the principal amount, and he will get the principal amount back, which is called the maturity amount. So this is a simple way of understanding what exactly is a bond. Now then next we come on to something which are called offshore bonds. What are offshore bonds? In offshore bonds, bonds are which are, let's say we are talking about India, they originate in India, but they are issued for people of the rest of the world. So they are not for people of India themselves, but for the outsiders. Now offshore bonds can be of two kinds. One can be the foreign currency denominated bonds, which means that India issues bonds either in dollar terms or euro or whatever other foreign currency that which depends on the country that India is targeting for the bond, or generally dollar, which is a universally accepted currency. Now on the other hand, offshore bonds can also be rupee denominated bonds. That is, India launches bonds for foreigners. So these are bonds for foreigners but are denominated in rupee terms. So that is what we mean by offshore bonds. They are of two kinds. Now, so let us first now understand what are masala bonds. So they are rupee denominated debt instruments issued in offshore markets to investors. So what do we understand? So what have we seen here? So first of all, they are rupee denominated, right? Secondly, they are issued for offshore investors. So if investors, so let us say you are sitting in India and you want to buy a masala bond, you cannot do so because they are only targeted at people who are sitting in offshore markets, that is abroad. But the settlement happens in dollars. So this is another feature of masala bonds. The settlement happens in dollars. We'll understand more about what this means, but a little bit of history before that. A similar name was used earlier in the world. China issued something called dim sum bonds, and we have kind of taken it from here because these bonds are also issued outside of China but were denominated in renminbi. So now we're doing the same. So three things to be remembered: they are rupee denominated, they are for offshore investors, but the settlement happens in dollars. So IFC issued masala bonds for the first time in 2014. They issued a 10-year, 10 billion Indian rupee equivalent, that is $163 million, in November 2014. Why did they issue? First of all, to increase foreign investment in India. That is what we are doing, because if the offshore people sitting in, let us say, US, are buying this bond, effectively they are loaning that much amount to India or to somebody sitting in India, and which means we are getting foreign investment in India. And obviously, consequently, we are mobilizing international capital markets because these bonds are launched in international capital markets. So we are leveraging or utilizing the international capital markets as well. Now, the masala bonds mark the first rupee bonds listed on the London Stock Exchange. Okay, now let us understand where does the risk lie. So, generally for all bonds, the interest rate risk is borne by the investor. Now, what do we mean by this? So, simple terms, again, this is just for your basic understanding. We can understand investor as somebody who has lent us money, right? Now, he is lending you the money at a certain interest rate, right? Let us say the interest rate is equal to R. Now, let us say in the market, the interest rate increases. So now let us say the bond was initially issued at 10%, and now after some time, the interest rate in the market increases to 12%. Now, what does this mean? This means, in a way, you can understand that this investor is now, in a less profitable position because he could have lent at a higher interest rate. which means that it is beneficial for him to sell the bond and then invest it into another, let us say, bond or any other instrument, because now the interest rates have risen, which means that if everybody starts to sell the bond, so there are more sellers in the market than buyers, it would mean that the price of the bond would fall. So which means, so the entire risk because of the interest rate is being borne by the investor, because the price of the bond, which is dependent on the interest rate, will change, and that is an entire risk which the investor is bearing. Similarly, if the interest rate were to now decrease to, let us say, 8%, suddenly everybody will say, oh, this was a very great instrument, in this we were getting a return of 10%. So the price of that bond will increase. Now, in case the price increases, the investor will benefit. If it is decreasing, obviously he will be in a sort of a loss. So this means the entire interest rate risk is borne by the investor always in this particular kind of a bond. Now, what about FX risk? There is also something called an FX risk, which will depend upon whether the bond is dollar denominated or rupee denominated. Now here we come on to the other thing that we talked about. We said that the bond is rupee denominated. Now what exactly do we mean by that? Now let us say, simple example, so this is your investor and this is your issuer. So the issuer is issuing, let us say, bonds worth rupees 100. So what is the initial transaction that is happening? The investor is giving to the issuer rupees 100. Now he is, okay, and then after that the issuer is giving to the investor coupon payments and the maturity amount. So let us say whatever, and he is going to return some money to it. Let us say in total he is returning 120 rupees. So now dollar denominated would have meant that this 100 rupees and 120 rupees would have been in dollars, but in this case it is rupee denominated, so it is in rupees. But eventually the settlement is in dollars. What this means also is that the investor is sitting in, let us say, USA. Now he has nothing to do with the Indian rupee. So he eventually will have to get his own dollars, convert them into rupees, and then buy this bond. I'm just talking very simplistically just to make you understand. So please don't take this literally. But the investor needs to get dollars, convert them into rupees, and then give to the issuer. And similarly, when the issuer gives him 120, again he will have to convert it back to US dollars to make it usable in his country. Let us say we are talking about USA, or in general the world, US dollar is a global currency. Now let us see where FX risk lies. So now let us say this is exactly the case that we are talking about. So the investor was supposed to get rupees 120. Now when he invested, let us say rupee was, let us say I am taking simple numbers, rupee was basically 50 rupees was equal to $1. So then when he was initially supposed to get back 120 rupees, this means in dollar terms, how much was he supposed to get back? It was 120 divided by 50. These many dollars he would have got. So which is equal to $2.4. Now let us say the interest rate changes, the rupee depreciates and it becomes 60. That is, rupee dollar is 60 rupees. Which means now how many dollars can he get for the same 120 rupees? 120 divided by 60, which is equal to $2. Now you can see earlier he was getting $2.4, but he is now, because of the rate of exchange rate changed, he is now getting only $2, which means he is at a loss. So this means, but the issuer, he is not gaining or losing. He was earlier supposed to pay 120 initially when the exchange rate was 50. Let us say this is when the bond was initially launched, and when finally after, let us say, 1 year, he is paying back the money, he is still paying rupees 120. So he doesn't care what the interest rate does, the exchange rate does. But this guy sitting here cares very much whether the exchange rate is 50 or 60, because if this changes, he would have built in all his calculations at a rate of US dollar at 50 rupees. But once the exchange rate changes and it becomes 60 rupees per dollar, his return in terms of US dollars changes. So which means that the FX risk in this case is, in this masala bonds case, lies with the investor if it is rupee denominated, and had it been dollar denominated, it would have been borne by the issuer. You can work this out similarly. I'm not going to go into this right here, but this is in masala bonds, both the risk, interest rate and FX risk, lie with the investor. Now what are the benefits of masala bonds? What are the benefits to the corporates, that is people who are investing? First of all, it leads to diversification of bond portfolio. So obviously it's a new instrument, so it leads to diversification. Lowers risk, as earlier suffered losses on offshore bonds as rupee depreciated. Now, as I said, if your bonds are dollar denominated, the losses of rupee depreciation or any changes in the exchange rate amount will be borne by the issuer, but not in this case because these are rupee denominated bonds. The or any risk related with the exchange rate of the currency will be borne by the investor. Now, it lower cost as interest rates may be lower in many countries, which is in fact the case. You may know that in most of the foreign countries, the advanced countries like US or the Eurozone countries, the interest rates are much lower than India. So you can sort of borrow at a much lower rate. So this is also a benefit for the corporates, and it provides companies a larger investor base to tap, which is obvious because now you're targeting the entire world. So this is what the corporates stand to gain from this. What is in it for India? Again, you're tapping international savings for domestic investment. So we always talk about foreign investment into the country. So this is being achieved by these masala bonds. Then there is deepening of bond market, which would help further issuances. So there is something called liquidity. Let's not get into much detail, but it basically means that you have more and more market for your financial products, which is the bond, which would mean if this bond is a success, so the country can launch further such instruments and further issuances will be held. Now it provides visibility and sets a benchmark for yields in future issuances. So this time India will say, look, this is the yield that we got. You always have an example, past example of successful instrument launches. And it shows the confidence of international investors in the economy and the currency. So the international investors will say that yes, India, if this bond is successful, people buy this bond. It shows that people have faith in the economy of the country of India and also in the currency of India. Now, similarly, what is in it for the investors? Investors get a chance to bet on the exchange rate. So in this case, like I showed you there, the one thing is that the risk, the exchange rate risk, this is exchange rate risk, lies with the investor. But this also means that if it moves in the favor of the investor, then they stand to gain. Now this is an exercise you can just work out, that if there is an appreciation of rupee, the investors will gain. Appreciation means that currently, let us say the $1 is equal to 60 rupees, and if it appreciates, it will go to 40 rupees, or basically this number is going to reduce. So whenever there is an appreciation of the exchange of the rupee, you will see that the investor will gain. So you can work this out, and they generally get higher returns than the domestic country, because like we discussed here, let us say in US the interest rate is 2%. I'm just taking fictitious numbers, and in India it is 10%, and let us say the bond is launched at somewhere in between, let us say 5%. So everybody stands to gain. This guy who would have got, investor would have got 2% in his own country, is getting 5%. The issuer who would have otherwise, if he would have issued a bond in India, he would have had to pay 10% interest rate, is now paying only 5%. So that is what the investor stands to gain. So this is basically all about masala bonds. Thank you.